Hi, everybody. I'm Jim Skelly, and this is the Global Conversation. There's a great deal to talk to you about this week, and as you all probably know, most importantly, it's giving us the proposal for your study circle project, okay? It's due tomorrow. I've been reviewing what you've been discussing about the project, and for the most part, I think you're all pretty much on track. Try to get the proposal in to Sadie and to me as soon as you can. It's You just have to keep pushing at it, and I have noticed, I have to say, that some people really do seem to take a leadership position in this, so that's a very good thing. And I have to say also that it looks like you're about to engage in some very interesting projects. So good luck with it all, and please do get us the proposal as soon as you can, okay? A couple of other things to talk with you about, and I don't want to let any of this go because I think it's terribly important. I've been paying attention, as you may remember, if you remember last week's mini lecture. We talked about the fact that China is more and more engaged in exploring what's going to happen with climate and the necessity, as they see it, to engage in geoengineering. I have to say, personally, I'm trepidatious about this. Trepidatious, for those of you who don't use four-syllable words or three-syllable words, or however many that is, I'm afraid. I'm worried that they're going to mess it up. And what the researchers have been doing, and I want to read you a little something here and then point you in the direction of something. One of the things they've been doing is that there were, in 1912 and 1982, eruptions at two volcanoes, one in Alaska and the other one in Mexico. And when these volcanoes erupted, they blasted millions of tons of sulfate into the skies in the northern hemisphere. Now, what happened, of course, is that major droughts in some regions developed, certainly in what's known as the Sahel across Africa. And when the scientists have recently recreated the eruptions in climate models, rainfall across the Sahel all but stopped as moisture-carrying air currents were pushed south. Now, it seems like this is likely to happen again, and in one of the research projects, they injected 5 million tons of sulfate into the stratosphere every year from 2020 to 2070. And these are just climate models now, but you know that is the kind of thing that could happen, right? It caused severe droughts in Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, Senegal, Chad, and Sudan, and an almost total loss of vegetation in those countries. If the intervention in the Earth's atmosphere occurred in the southern hemisphere as opposed to the northern hemisphere, it brought rain to the Sahel, and the entire region became very green. But that, of course, came, as they say, to their benefit in Africa, but in northeastern Brazil, rainfall fell away significantly. So we don't really know at this point what's going to happen with this geoengineering, but I am quite clear that this is going to be the big issue for debate, because the climate is now, it's now apparent to more and more people that the climate is sincerely disrupted. Severely disrupted, not just sincerely, right? one of the people at the Spice Project, and I want to point you to the Spice Project. Now, it sounds like a nice thing, spices for your food, but it's not. Spice is at the University of Bristol in the UK, and it's what's called the Volcanology Research Group, and SPICE stands for Stratospheric Particle Injection for Climate Engineering. I'm going to send you a link to the website, but just the title makes me trepidatious, afraid, okay? But you want to take a look at it, and you want to take a look at what they're talking about and start to get to know it. Because this is going to become a central issue for debate. One of the people involved at SPICE, a scientist named Matthew Watson, who's the head of the project, says whatever we do is a compromise, and that compromise means there will be winners and losers. Sounds like everything else on the planet and the way we organize things socially, politically, and economically. And it's going to open massive ethical questions. Who gets to decide how we even determine what is a good outcome for different people? And then finally, how do you get a consensus with 7 billion plus stakeholders? If there was a decision to do geoengineering tomorrow, and here's the key point, it would be done by white Western men. And that isn't good. That's Matthew Watson from the SPICE Project at the University of Bristol in Britain. And of course, we've seen what white Western men have done in other places. So we want to be really attentive to all of this, okay? I'll send you some interesting material on climate. Another thing that to pay attention to here is that the forecasts of global temperature rises over the past 15 years have proved remarkably accurate. Those scientists who've been modeling climate change indicate. Instead of exaggerating the warming, they're pretty much right on the mark, right? So we should be very, very attentive to this, right? Again, think about the fact that it's not just warming. It's climate disruption. Overall, there's warming. But winters, as some of us have experienced, have been a lot colder. I just talked earlier today with a friend in Ireland who said that Ireland will have had the coldest March in 50 years. Same thing is true in the United Kingdom. And what we've always worried about in Ireland is, in fact, will the Gulf Stream shift? And will Ireland become like Iceland? I guess more people will go to the pubs, won't they? At any rate, pay attention to this. It's going to be very, very serious. I don't have too much more for you today. There are various other issues that we'll be talking about in the near future. I do hope you'll be able to take a very active role in the study circles and really make some fabulous projects together. I'm very interested to see how you all work together, because working together is going to be what the future demands. All the best, and I'll talk to you again next week.